Good morning, dear students. Today I am going to talk about flipped classroom. A flipped classroom is an instructional strategy. It's a type of blended learning that reverses the traditional learning environment. The traditional learning environment means introducing new content at school, then assigning homework and projects to completed by the students independently at home. The flipped classroom is inverting a classroom. It's the approach to teaching in which course materials are introduced outside of class and in class time is repurposed for inquiry, application and assessment in order to better meet the needs of individual learners. So, totally the flipped classroom technique inverting the traditional classroom style. Here the course materials might include readings, pre-recorded video lectures or research assignments, everything provided to the students prior to the class hour. In-class activities might involve helping students work through course material individually and in groups, among other active learning strategies for students to gain practice applying knowledge gained prior to class. So they are applying the knowledge what they are gained prior to the class with the help of the readings, pre-recorded video lectures or research assignments. So they are using that pre-gained knowledge or the prior knowledge inside of the classroom. So totally the traditional classroom was inverted. That's why we are calling is the flipped classroom. Let me see one of the definition by the Flipped Learning Network 2014. Flipped classroom is a pedagogical approach in which direct instruction moves from the group learning space to the individual learning space, and the resulting group space is transformed into a dynamic, interactive learning environment where the educator guides students as they apply concepts and engage creatively in the subject matter. So it is totally opposite to the normal or the traditional classroom learning methodology. Next we move to how to flip the class or steps in a flipped classroom strategy. What are all the important steps are there? Step 1. Define content scope, learning objectives and instructional strategies. The success of the flipped classroom depends upon the first step, what you want your students to accomplish before, during and after the class. So we have to clear in the idea of scope of our topic. Defining scope is important so that students will not have difficulty building a mental model and connecting content. The biggest challenge is to determine how much of your subject matter can be taught within the time frame. So the scope of our topic is very important. So we have to define the content scope, then learning objectives. So in the first step, we have to define everything related to the content. And step 2, students gain familiarity with new material before class. Here, what instructional materials and resources will use for students to familiarize themselves with the content prior to class? That is the question in the second step. Plan and prepare the new instructional materials that students will engage with prior to class. So we have to ask one question, what is the best way to communicate and present the new instructional material? You have to select. It's a video format, or text, or animation, simulation, online multimedia module or other. Will my students be able to process this content in this format effectively? We have to ask ourselves these questions. So here plan and prepare the new instructional materials that students will engage with prior to class. Because we are going to give all these materials prior to class and the class hour is used for discussion and interaction. Step 3. Activities that motivate students to prepare before class. So what kind of activities will motivate students and prepare them before class? So here we have to refer the step 1. That is very important. That is the first step that focusing the objectives and scope of the content. Here some of the examples of ways to motivate the students to do the pre-class work. Ask students to respond to open-ended questions online about the instructional material before class. Prepare questions about the instructional materials. Prepare a presentation about the topic. Attempt to solve some problems. Research examples to bring to class that illustrate a principle. So, we have to give some activities to motivate the students and prepare the students before the class, before the group discussion or before the classroom interaction. And in step 4, in-class activities that provide students opportunities to deepen understanding. Already I told it helps to dive deep into the subject matter. So that is the in-class activity. So here the teacher have to plan, prepare and develop in-class activities that focus on higher level cognitive activities. So all the activities should focus the higher level cognitive activities and also kindle the higher level cognitive thinking ability of the students. The activity you choose will depend on the learning goals and objectives, as some activities lend themselves best to certain types of content. So in class activity, the first 10 minutes, what we can do? Spending the first 10 minutes of our in-class time getting students in the right frame of mind. The instructor reviews pre-class activities before class to identify common questions, or the first 10 minutes of class are spent on a question answer session with students influenced by the pre-class activity results, or provide a quick 3-question review question that can be graded or ungraded. This can serve to review and focus the students so that the information is fresh in their mind. So first 10 minutes of our in-class activity will be helpful for the students to enter into the right frame. That should be a motivation area. First 10 minutes should be motivating the students and create or awakening the interest of the students and getting the students into the right frame. The remaining class time can be spent engaging in what are commonly referred to as active learning strategies, which can help students further process what they learned in the pre-class content. Here are just a few examples for the in-class activities after 10 minutes. Collaborate with the peers to solve problems on using social media in the classroom. You have to allow them to use the social media and internet facilities. Work on assignments. Present students created content. Discuss examples or case studies. Debate a topic. Share and exchange knowledge between peers. So we can take any one type or any two type of strategies to interact with the students, or the active learning strategy we can select to apply inside of the classroom or inside of that flipped classroom setup. Here are the some of the examples I told. And the fifth step is post-class activities that extended student learning. So here, how will students continue the learning experience from the in-class activity to outside of class? So here we have to refer to the learning objectives and tasks outlined in step 1, that is plan, prepare and develop the continuation of the learning experiences from the in-class activity to outside of class individual or collaborative practice. So after in-class activities we have to prepare some post-class activities to extend their learning. So we have to determine what students should do after the in-class activity to continue learning or bridge to the next topic. There should be a connectivity between the in-class activity of the present lesson to the next lesson. Step 6. Ongoing evaluation and assessment. For assessment, we have to follow summative or formative assessment. Plan for ongoing formative and summative ways to assess students' understanding and mastery. And would students attain all the learning objectives? What does mastery or success look like, etc. So, we can conduct summative and formative assessment to assess the students. And also, we have to evaluate. Here in this evaluation process, now that you have flipped, did it work? Plan for opportunities to evaluate by reflecting on the design of the class or course. Did you communicate the ideas effectively? Did you provide enough opportunities for students to practice? Was it challenging enough? So ask for feedback from students on what worked well and what didn't and update your practices accordingly. So the evaluation is totally about the flipped classroom. What is their experience inside of that flipped classroom? Was it challenging enough? Ask some feedback from the students, and if any necessity or if any necessity arises, we have to improve it, update it accordingly, that is according to the feedback of the students. Let me see the educational implications of the flipped classroom. So totally 6 important steps are there in the flipped classroom process. And let we are moving to the educational implications of flipped classroom. Lot of educational implications are there. We can see some of the implications. A college reading empirical study identifies flipped classroom approach at including all forms of learning. All forms of learning is possible in a flipped classroom: oral, visual, listening, hands-on, problem solving, etc. Rather than learning in a traditional classroom setting, flipped classroom uses a more application-based approach for students. Hands-on and problem-solving activities. They are actively participating. They are interacting. They are discussing. They are solving problems. The accessibility of flipped classroom is extremely convenient, especially for students that would face difficulties in traveling to the physical classroom. Such students would still have the foundational information of the course at hand via online. So it helps the students, those who face difficulties to attend the physical classroom, they will learn it via online. Communication is greatly emphasized in a flipped classroom setting, essentially referred to student and student teacher interactions are possible. The flipped classroom utilizes a student-centered teaching model in order to ensure that the course is primarily aimed at contributing to the students' overall success in obtaining a proper, effective education. It's a student-centered teaching model because the active participation of the students encouraged in this flipped class.